Hello, my name is Cody and I want to talk about one of my favorite platformers ever, a little game called This indie game, made by the studio Angel Matrix, is a fast-paced speedrunning platformer, with first-person shooter mechanics and an absolutely fire soundtrack. Neon White was one of the first ever games I played with a very strong focus on speedrunning, and despite the fact I don't usually play super fast-paced games, or games that have a huge emphasis on being super skilled, this game absolutely entranced me with its gameplay. The story is alright, but it's not really why people play the game anyhow. However, with any game with a focus on platforming, especially such fast-paced platforming, important design choices had to be made for the levels to be fun, replayable, uncomplicated, and engaging. I will be taking a look at the first 3 levels of the game, which are contained within the game's first section, named Rebirth, which consists of 10 small levels to help teach the player how to play. I would analyze all of the Rebirth mission, but I talk too much and this video would get too long. Now, after you finish watching the intro scene, you're put into the game's first level, which is incredibly simple in design. The intro scene tells you that this place is heaven, and that you are a sinner reborn to do God's dirty work. You are placed into a giant Colosseum-like building, with the floor of the level looking like a thin veil of water. You can see 3 brightly coloured characters run off in the same direction as each other, helping guide the player as to where they should be going next. The buildings and architecture are very reminiscent of stereotypical angelic structures, like the entry gates into heaven. This comes across very clearly with their use of white as the primary colour, like marble material often used by wealthy and powerful individuals, and gold as their secondary colour, once again representative of wealth. The floor and skies are blue, once again representing the whole heaven theme they're going for. From where you are standing, there are a number of stairs leading down, but they do eventually lead to the player jumping down onto the watery floor. Running on this floor gives the player a considerable speed boost, as emphasized by the sound effects and the blue margin appearing around the edge of the screen. All of the buildings being white in this area help differentiate them from the surrounding area, helping the player keep track of where the next platform they have to land on is. The end of the level uses a ramp made of the same water material the player ran on before to finish. The end goal is pretty standout, with a notable feature being the green flora growing around on the box thing. I'll talk more about that later. Anyways, back to analysing the levels. Level 2 of Rebirth is made to teach players how to use soul cards. The level presents the player with 2 purified cards, and displays a group of black balloon creatures known as demons, set up as if they were targets to be shot at, because that's exactly their design. Like a shooting range at a carnival, these enemies are placed in a way that allows players to familiarise themselves with the soul cards without being under stress or in any danger. Now, I want to touch on something I mentioned earlier. See those green plants on the side of the platforms? It's a subtle way of the developers pointing players in the right direction, in a way that's not immediately obvious or distracting. Every level uses this technique, and most players don't even notice, at least not consciously. And while I'm on the subject of intentionally placed objects to guide the player, notice this outstretching platform in front of the end goal. If a player could land there, it would allow them to finish the level significantly quicker, but unfortunately you just can't make the jump normally. This is because you need to utilise a mechanic the game doesn't teach you until the next level, which is the discard ability. When you discard a soul card, it lets you perform an ability that can give you a ton of versatility. The Purify soul card's discard ability is to place a sticky bomb that explodes quickly after its placement. This explosion can launch the player in the opposite direction, allowing them to make the jump. This level design subtly lets the player know that there is a way to cross the gap with the tools they have already been presented with. The final level I'll be analysing is quite different from the other 2, as it is the first to present the player with an actual threat. Upon entering, the player is presented with a soul card and a simple enemy. This enemy shoots purple fireball projectiles and is very weak. It is isolated and alone, to help make the player's first experience with a proper enemy simplistic and relatively non-threatening. Afterwards, the player will see a balloon enemy and another soul card. Their first instinct will likely be to shoot the balloon, then head towards the next enemy they see, which is the small projectile throwing one you can see in the distance there. However, you can see some leaves growing along the overhanging platform, presenting a different path. What I ended up doing in this clip was using my soul card to rocket jump up the platform and then continuing normally. However, this isn't quite the intended route. You see, the balloon creatures have a secondary mechanic attached to them where if you make physical contact with them, they pop and you'll be launched upwards, like a double jump. However, I immediately shot it upon seeing it. Whoops. But hey, it just proves my point that there are multiple ways to beat a level. Something else I want to bring up is the choice of colours with the demons. They are entirely black, a solid black that contrasts sharply with the white architecture. This, like the white of the buildings, allows the player to easily locate them, even while moving fast or while searching for routes. The requirement of having to kill all of them before you can progress to the end also forces the player to go to certain parts of the level, instead of just beelining straight to the finish line. This allows the devs to better coerce the players into going to certain parts of the level, and allows for the players to get creative with how they want to eliminate all the demons as fast and as efficiently as possible. Now, this is only the first few levels of the entire game, and it already uses multiple genius level design features. It utilizes things such as the coloring of the buildings, the floral directions to point the player in the right direction, subtle hints on how to beat the level faster, a great mechanic designed to work in tandem with the level design and core gameplay elements. While researching for this project, I came across the Twitter page of one of the level designers who worked on the game, Carter Piccillo. He shared clips and pictures of the grey box levels, and talked a bit about some of the challenges he faced while working on them. He described the structure of the levels needing to be challenging, while also needing to be varied to keep the player engaged with constant variety. Overall, I think his work on the game is amazing and a powerful inspiration, personally. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.